What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for a late night Tottenham update. And I'm sorry to just spoil your evening, because it's been actually a nice evening for once, to get away from Spurs and get away from Spurs transfers. And I'm sure you're enjoying all the reactions surrounding the Arsenal-Manchester United game. And I see actually Sim's creeping with a little bit of a smile even this evening. So
football won tonight, at least for one game.
Nice. That was nice. But look, sorry to spoil that, because we've got to talk about Spurs transfers for the next 15 minutes or so, talking about Andy Robertson, which is the breaking news of this evening. As Paul Joyce, the first one to break it, says that Liverpool have told Tottenham that they haven't got an alternative available to sanction the transfer of Andy Robertson, and he is now set to stay at the club. Spurs were prepared to pay a £5 million package, but the deal is off as it stands. David Ornstein says that Andy Robertson from Liverpool to Spurs not proceeding at present. Tottenham agreed a deal in principle for the move to happen after the Champions League group stage, but required Tsimikas recall by Liverpool, not possible so far. Roma seeking a replacement, but time is running out. Alistair Gold pretty much has said the same thing. Understand Spurs and Liverpool had agreed a deal in principle last week for Robertson to sign Liverpool after the final Champions League game. With all parties looking to proceed, the deal hinged on Liverpool being able to recall Tsimikas from Roma, but they haven't been able to at this point, and the Italian side is said to be trying to find a replacement, so the deal could still happen, but time is running out. And Ben Jacobs says that decision not to sanction Robertson's departure as of now was made by both club and player acting in good faith. Spurs also understood to have been handling negotiations respectfully. They reached an agreement in principle. For now, Liverpool and Robertson have called off the move. I mean, the reality is, if that is the situation, Roma, don't really have an obligation or a need to find that replacement, because they got Tsimikas there. Why do they care about Robertson moving to Spurs or Liverpool have a replacement? They've got Tsimikas right there. So for me, I don't think this deal happens. However, we have heard that this was a deal brought forward from the summer. So whether the manager situation changes anything there, but let's assume it doesn't for a second, this could very well happen in the summer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we've seen the last of this deal, although we'll see what happens in the summer when it comes to who the manager is or any of those other kind of variables which could easily change. So I wouldn't say it's a shoo-in to happen in the summer, but it's definitely one to watch out for. For me, in terms of right now, obviously, given the fact that we made the decision to go for him, he was willing to come. He was going to provide good kind of either backup or a good option at left back in exchange for a doggy who's obviously had his injury problems, and the fact it seems as though Sousa doesn't seem ready to be playing left back regularly. I was kind of on board with it, albeit I wasn't totally excited about it. I think the stuff he would have brought to the dressing room is important. But I think it makes sense. And we'll see as well if Kirkes has any significant injury as well, if that's played a part. And as you said, the whole Tsimikas thing, that's obviously clearly, if they're not willing to let him go, then what exactly are Liverpool supposed to do? It sounds like Robertson is pretty calm about the situation as well. He's not exactly going to be forcing out a move 6 months before the end of his deal. I'm sure he's willing to wait 6 months if need be. So I wonder if the news about Slot, or what if the potential news about Slot is circling, has anything to do with any potentially change in decision about Robertson. But for me, anyway, I don't think it would have changed too much for us between now and the end of the season. I think it's another body and obviously another voice, but whether does signing Robertson materially improve our performances on the pitch, I'm not certain in the short term that's for certain. I understand all the intangibles he brings, but I think as well, I don't think he just becomes a voice in the dressing room within the first week and all of a sudden everyone's up for it. You know what I mean? That he needs to embed himself in that squad as well. So I think if he comes in before pre-season and has, time to get to know everyone and then, become an important voice in that dressing room, then I think that's probably a better time anyway to bring in a player like Robertson rather than mid-season when we're struggling. But it is what it is. It's just another case of Tottenham missing out on a target which they've gone for, and that's been a pattern that's followed on from the summer where we're missing out on targets left, right and centre. But I guess you can't really blame Tottenham really in this instance.
Yeah, it's not a case of the players rejected Tottenham or anything like that. He's just, being respectful to Liverpool. He's a club legend there. And I completely understand it from his point of view. He doesn't want to leave Liverpool high and dry, and that's completely fair enough, to be honest. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating because Ben Davies is injured. He's been playing over the last couple of weeks and good performances as well, and will leave us fairly short. I don't think we get another left back in from now until the end of the window, so it just leaves us a bit short in that position. We've seen Spence play there, obviously, a lot this season. Look, it's not the end of the world, and it's Robertson wasn't going to be the difference from us, turning the season round or not, but it just carries on leaving us short. That's the reality.
That's obviously the worst element about it. For me, I kind of hope like it was an opportunistic move to try and get him in early. I kind of would just move on from this, try and get someone a bit younger and someone who's more ready to kind of play consecutive games and compete with the doggy properly. I understand the logic behind getting Robertson, but for me, I just think go for someone else. I don't think we need to be signing who's a player who's going to be, I think, 32 in a couple months and who's on the decline. I just don't know how smart that is in putting him on big wages. And supposedly, we were prepared to offer him a 3-year deal. So for me, I think it's an opportunity to maybe move on from that and go in a different direction in the summer if that's when we're going to wait and there's going to be more options. But we'll see.
I've just got a feeling that Spurs are still going to... I think he's still going to be a Spurs player in the summer. I really do. They were talking about, like I said before, this was a plan pushed forward from a deal that we were working on for the summer on a free transfer. So I assume that those plans are still going to be in place. I don't know who was pushing for it. Was it Frank? Was it Lange? Was it, other people in the boardroom or the recruitment team? I don't know who was pushing for it. If it was Frank, then, there's a good chance it probably doesn't happen. But if it was like someone like Johan Lang or someone in the recruitment team, there's a good chance it probably still will happen.
Who knows what the state of the club is going to be in 6 months' time? Because right now, I think everyone's position is being looked at, and especially
That's
Frank. But obviously, the people
is that the reality? That's what we want, but is that reality?
I think it has to be. I think it has to be when with how bad things have gone. I think the fact that Vina and Lange were central to appointing Frank. I'm not saying that necessarily right now they're on the verge of going or anything, but I'm saying in 6 months' time, you never know what's. Paratici's gone after 2 months. Things are constantly moving, and who knows exactly what the Lewis family and the hierarchy above Vina and Lange are thinking about the job they're doing, and they might be out the door in 6 months' time as well.
We can only pray, eh? Another name that has been mentioned with Tottenham via team talks is that Tottenham are reportedly targeting a move for Napoli centre-back Alessandro Buongiorno. The Italy international is capable of playing centrally and at left-back, but has a contract that runs until 2029. An interesting one as well, because we've actually been linked with him from his Torino days under Conte. I don't know if you remember. And he's obviously gone to Napoli, stepped up and done pretty well there. Quite a regular in the Italian setup as well for the national team. Could be an interesting one.
Maybe one for the summer as well. Again, is Dragoshin leaving? He's obviously came off the bench in the last game. There's a lot of talk about whether he wants to leave to get game time. Are we going to go and sign another centre-back between now and the end of the transfer window when we obviously need a forward? Is that even going to happen? Obviously, the Champions League places are very limited as well. Buongiorno seemed like a really exciting talent when we were linked with him under Conte, and he's obviously gone on to play under Conte right now. So I don't know whether he wants to come mid-season to the mess that we're in as well. But then again, money talks, and we know we can obviously offer more money than Italian clubs, can't we? So that's just the natural order of things in world football, it seems, at the moment. I think I saw a Villarreal manager talking about. He said, we got in the Champions League last season, and a team like Palace came to us with big money and said, we're taking your best player. There's nothing we could have done. And that was kind of him explaining the power of the Premier League. So I guess if we really want him, could we get him? But if we're looking for like a cheap deal, mate, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what his market value is and, what Napoli would be asking for, but does seem a decent player, and I wouldn't be against it. But he is more of a centre back than a left back. That's the reality.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if that's what. Well, I mean, if you live by the rumours, it seems like Spurs are linked with a lot more centre backs than attacking players right now, and that's the frustration of it all. Next up, we're going to talk about Curtis Jones again. Just quickly, I was watching the podcast that Paul O'Keefe was just on, and he says that Tottenham's interest in Curtis Jones is genuine. However, there is a suggestion that all these links are being put into the press by Curtis Jones' agent to try and get him a better deal at Liverpool, because apparently the people around Curtis Jones feels like he is massively undervalued by Liverpool, and he's not on like the wages they think he should be on, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, a Liverpool lad coming through the academy, loves the club. So there's that to think about as well.
I think I really like him. I think he's a really good player, and he probably should get a new contract because look, I don't know when he last signed a contract, but he is quite an important player for them. He's played quite a lot, and he's really grown into like quite an important member of that squad. And I think he's also, given he's a local boy, and you know Trent's gone, he's kind of like one of those voices in the dressing room who really who's a Liverpool fan, and he understands what Liverpool's all about. So I think I've seen a lot of interviews with him this season where he's kind of like, you know, we're Liverpool. This is not what this is an unacceptable kind of thing. And maybe he's kind of one also for them who set standards, which is also quite surprising why he'd be willing to go, considering that. But maybe he wants a kind of more important role in a team rather than like a bit part player, squad player like he is at Liverpool. So I can understand the appeal potentially. But right now, Liverpool battling for top four. He's playing pretty regularly. So why come to a team like Tottenham mid-season? Doesn't make too much sense to me from that point of view. But I like him. I think he's a really good player. And I think he's the kind of player we need, to be honest.
Yeah, I do believe that it could be just the agents just trying to drum up a better contract for him as well. Like, if the rumours of Slot are true, but even if they're not true, that story could come to an end pretty soon regardless. He might just stick around and think, you know, a new manager comes in and he might value me a bit more.
True. And maybe all of a sudden he's got a new role.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't think Curtis Jones comes to Spurs anytime soon. But then again, a new manager could come in and doesn't value him at all, and he could be out the door. So, you know, it could go both ways.
Also, if I was Curtis Jones, I'd be looking at how we play, and he'd be like, I don't know, does Frank really want me to play my game? Who knows?
Yeah, that's also true. Let's talk about Micky van de Ven, because it's been obviously heavily reported from various people that Micky could be looking for a route out of Tottenham this summer. Liverpool seemingly interested, but Paul O'Keefe says that there is no chance, under no circumstances, is Micky van de Ven going to leave Tottenham this summer, and he is happy at the club. Spurs will sit down with him and discuss a contract extension, and as well, there was a suggestion that Spurs actually have an option to extend his contract by a further year.
Which is good news, obviously. Not that we're like necessarily we need it, but every little helps. I mean, that's good to hear. He doesn't cut a happy figure right now, but I guess who would with the current state of our performances and where we are in the league.
Happy at the beginning of the game, before the game, and then after the game, it's just like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Look, I'm sure he is like happy in London, and I'm sure like he's happy with the fact that since coming to Tottenham, how much his stock has risen, right? And now he's being talked about with big moves for big money to big clubs. So I understand, like, in terms of his progression as a player, and you know he is playing in the Premier League and he's won a trophy and all that kind of stuff. I don't think he looks at Tottenham and thinks, in terms of the club, and thinks like, I hate being here. But I definitely think he looks at the team and thinks this team is going nowhere right now. And if a big team comes in who are challenging right at the top and looking to challenge for titles and have been challenged for titles in the recent years, I wouldn't be surprised if he has his head turned. But look, I'm sure he loves his teammates. He's obviously doing very well under Frank, him personally. He's one of the few who have maybe developed their game quite a bit since he's come in. Obviously, he's added goals to his game, which wasn't there really over the last 2 years. So he's definitely becoming a more rounded centre-back. But given our struggles, I don't think you can say anything categorically. What if we do get relegated? Then he's obviously going to leave, isn't he? So you can't say anything categorically, can you, about him 100% being here? And what if we finish 17th again? Is he going to stay in that case? Like, it's all well and good that being the party line. Of course it is. He ain't going anywhere. He's not for sale, and he's happy. I'm sure you kind of, in a way, all of those things are true, but that doesn't mean I would rule out a sale if things carry on the way they are right now.
Yeah, I just can't see Spurs sanctioning a sale with so long left in his contract, particularly as we got the extra year as well, which could take it to 4 years left in his deal. It would have to take a crazy, crazy offer for Spurs to even consider it, and even then, I don't know if Spurs would. So, yeah, look, we've spoken about this a lot over the past week, and that's what I thought then, and this has just reaffirmed my stance, to be honest.
Depends on Van de Ven if he's going to force it or not. We've seen it already. Depends on him.
Yeah, that's a different situation, and how much he does force it as well. But yeah, I've got a feeling if he does, like, Spurs will just convince him one more year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the summer. He mentioned as well, Paul O'Keefe, about Mateta of Crystal Palace, and he's saying that he predicts Spurs to be scrambling around now in the last week of the window for an attacking player, and he wouldn't rule out Spurs trying to go for Mateta in the last week of the window. He also claimed on Kolo Muani, like, there's no chance he's going to leave from now to the end of the window, and Spurs just can't afford to let him leave with the numbers of attacking players that we have, which, yeah, it does make sense. But obviously it shows where he's at in Thomas Frank's thinking with not even coming off the bench in the last game. But with Mateta, there's big rumours that he's looking for a way out of Palace. There were rumours of a transfer request and all that kind of stuff. Do you think there's a chance that Spurs try and go for Mateta before the end of the window?
I think there's a big chance we do, to be honest, because Villa apparently were looking at him, but they're going for Tammy Abraham. Apparently his move for Juve has broken down as well, and they're looking at El Nesri instead. So I think there's still a pathway to get him for Tottenham. I think the one reservation I have with it is not really how good he is, because I think he would fit in well, and I think he's been brilliant over the last 2.5 years now, scoring goals regularly. But he's not had a good season, and you could put it down maybe to him wanting out and the speculation. But as well, I've heard reports that he's nursing this knee injury, which is going to have to be sorted at some point. And he's apparently just been putting it off and putting it off. And now the fear is you spend 40 million on him, and then you sign him, and the knee goes essentially, and then it's going to need a serious operation, or that has to be sorted in the short term as well. So whether signing him now makes sense for big money when he's got this issue, that's the one caveat I'm worried about. Whether I think getting him on a free and then sorting out the issue probably makes more sense rather than spending big money and then potentially wasting the next 6 months, either nursing this injury to full health when he's not going to be fully fit, or having him to miss the next 6 months with this injury potentially.
Is that why clubs have stayed away?
Potentially, or why clubs are not spending big money on him.
Because he seemed to have played a lot of football this season. 8 goals.
I'm saying they're nursing him through it, but it's a situation that's going to have to be sorted.
I didn't know that. If that's the case, I'll definitely stay away. We can't deal with another crock on our hands, seriously. Like, we're signing players that have, like, the cleanest injury record, and they're still getting injured. Like, we can't be signing a player that has got an issue and just to further damage the issue, especially with our medical team's track record. So
yeah, I don't know what exactly the state of the play is with it. I don't know if they're trying to get him to the end of the season and then do something to sort it, or whether it's something that they feel like he has to manage. But I've definitely heard. I was watching a video from a Palace fan, Ollie. He's a good guy, and he was talking about the whole Mateta situation, about why he thinks he should stay, and he was talking about this knee problem that he has, and he said that it's a big risk for a club to sign him big money with that situation ongoing, and he thinks that's why he believes Palace hold all the cards when it comes to the current transfer right now.
Oh, interesting. Is his contract up at the end of the season?
Yeah.
Or is it next season? Or is it next summer?
I think it's this summer.
Oh. I think it's the end of next season, isn't it? There'll be a lot more clamour for him now, surely. There would be no need for him to put in a transfer request if it was this summer.
End of next season. You're right. End of next season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know about that. And if that's the case, I'll definitely stay away, 100%. But to be fair to him, even with these injury problems that they're nursing him through, still got 8 goals this season.
Yeah.
You know, if he is playing through the pain barrier, he's having quite a decent season then, not a poor season.
He's having a goal scoring wise, he is considering that not many strikers actually scoring more goals around the Premier League. It seems he's doing all right, but a lot of Palace fans have complained that he's missed a hell of a lot of chances. If you see some of the chances he's missed, I think he's missed like up there with the most big chances in the league this season. So maybe Palace fans would argue that they would be doing a lot better if he would put some of those away. But yeah, he's still scoring the goals. That's true.
Yeah. All right, look, that's all we have time for. You back in the studio tomorrow. I'll let you get back to watching those Arsenal reactions, because I'm sure there's many of them doing the rounds on social media right now. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come you Spurs.
You Spurs.